Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. Today we continue our series on UVM's natural areas with a look at the biggest of these hidden gems, Centennial Woods. Located amidst the hustle and bustle of Vermont's most populous community, this area contains over 65 acres of mature conifers, mixed hardwoods, fields, streams, and wetlands. Being adjacent to the UVM campus means Centennial Woods serves as a natural laboratory for students to study the region's plants, animals, and cultural history. Recently, Across the Fence's Ben Willis and Caleb May hiked the many trails crisscrossing Centennial Woods to bring us this story.
This is one of the most majestic spots in Vermont. And I like to look into these. If you ever come across these, so this tree had a second stem and it broke off, probably in a storm. But I always like to peek inside of them whenever I pass by because I've seen frogs hanging out in there. I don't see any in here right now, but just for future notice, just check in every time you come across one.
We'll take a look when we come back.
Yeah.
And then as you get
I'm in Centennial Woods for a walking tour with Lori Anderson, Director of UVM Natural Areas, and Michelle Giles, who recently earned her graduate degree from UVM's Field Naturalist program. Both have been dedicated stewards of the site, working to improve the management practices of this forest located in Vermont's biggest city.
Yeah, I see this as an area where faculty really like to bring students for their educational purposes. It could be in ecology, it could be in any aspect of the environment, art, just about anything. One of the things I see is that students come out here and they get this experiential learning where they can implement a project and take some ownership over it and feel like they've now learned how to do something out in the environment to improve the ecological landscapes. We had some students out here in the spring and they were removing some invasive species and they were planting some native species and they were stabilizing some stream banks, and I think in the process of doing that they really got the feeling that they can contribute to making this a better place.
Anderson only recently began her position and quickly realized Centennial Woods needed her attention. Anderson shows us a spot where a group of students constructed a beaver dam analog to help combat erosion.
You've got this log here that redirects the water so that it can keep flowing in its channel and flow naturally on out without eroding away at the landscape.
A growing issue for Centennial Woods is the encroachment of invasive species, along with visitors creating social or unofficial trails. These paths can lead to further problems for the forest, something Anderson is addressing with the help of UVM students.
So all these blue tubes have a little sapling inside of them that's going to become a tree in this forest. Two of the things we're trying to work on here is get rid of invasive species that we don't want here and get rid of social trails that are causing so many trails in the woods that we suddenly have a lot of erosion and disturbance, soil disturbance, vegetation disturbance. And we have areas for invasive species to come in when we create extra trails. So they got rid of the Japanese honeysuckle and they planted native trees. So the species that they put in here are northern red oak, choke cherry, winterberry, and high bush cranberry. So hopefully we'll discourage people from walking down through here.
In addition to managing invasive species, Lori and her small team of students have been focused on improving the sections of the trail most in need of attention.
All of these trails we're just trying to improve. We've been working on the boardwalks a little bit, and now we're just filling in boardwalks in spaces where people would be walking through mud. This is an example of trails that were designed before they had what's now state-of-the-art trail building. And so I have since learned from Appalachian Mountain Club how to build really good trails that create less impact on the environment. So they came out here with me and showed me how I would reroute all of my trails in new places so that water would run off naturally and we wouldn't have such a mud problem. But it would require a lot of work in Centennial to do that with all of our trails. So little by little, we'll get to it.
As Anderson focuses on enhancing the existing trail with the limited resources at her disposal, she is also looking towards the future, bolstered by the invaluable work of recent UVM Field Naturalist Program graduate Michelle Giles. Giles's research centered on creating a comprehensive tree inventory and envisioning an ideal trail system that prioritizes accessibility and sustainability.
It's a multi-pronged project. I worked on an ecological element, which was setting up 42 continuous forest inventory plots in Centennial Woods. So that was the ecological element of my project. And then the social element of my project was to tackle some trail concerns. The trails here are used heavily by students of the University of Vermont. They're also used heavily by residents of Burlington. This is an urban natural area. Lots of people come here. And so they get a lot of use and not a lot of tending and love.
What was the major challenge that you noticed as you walked these trails?
Yeah, we are about 100 feet onto this trail, and we've made it farther than any person with a physical disability would be able to do who needed a mobility aid. We're past where it's accessible because of the slope that we took to get in. It's too steep for any wheelchair to get down.
Giles has identified sections of the current trail that don't meet accessibility standards and created a plan for how the trail could be rebuilt to allow more people to enjoy this area. She pointed out a few problem spots, including this one.
This couldn't be part of an accessible trail because we walked down too steep of a slope to get there. And ideally, these kind of bridges, while they can be great to get over water, the best thing in trail sustainability is to cross water once. So this trail actually crosses water twice, and so if it were rerouted to meet the accessibility standards, it would only cross water once, and it wouldn't be here. It would be down at the brook. So this is not what an accessible bridge looks like, and instead it would more look like an accessible path leading down to one single bridge that crosses water once. I would love to see, lots of students of different physical abilities able to use this space for research. And so when I think about the future, I like to think about a diversity of students being able to be here studying what is so loved about this place.
Michelle has spent countless hours here, and her love for this forest is palpable. Moving through the woods with her, we begin to understand what makes this place so special to her and why it's so important to ensure others can experience its beauty.
This is one of my favorite areas of Centennial. I think the light here is incredible. There's lots of different birds that I get to hear here. I'm not a huge birder, but whenever I come with birders, they're like, so many birds here.
Michelle hopes her long-term monitoring plan will be continued, allowing future researchers to track changes and build on her work.
So change here is going to be pretty constant. So for that reason, the inventory I recommended was to be repeated every 5 years. And that would include, checking to see if some of the saplings that I measured in 2023 have grown into full-blown trees, or if there's something, say like deer, that are an issue for getting regeneration going. If there's a lot of herbivory, sometimes saplings can't become full trees if that's the case.
As we walk past towering hemlocks, I asked Giles about a looming threat. In a previous program, we discussed the hemlock woolly adelgid, a pest steadily moving north and devastating hemlock stands just like this one.
Hemlock is the most abundant tree in Centennial Woods in terms of stems per acre. So that was what the inventory result was, and yeah, they're coming. The hemlock woolly adelgid is coming, so there's no way around it. And I just think a lot about that in regards to Centennial Woods, because having spent so much time here, it's really hard for me for me personally, to think of Centennial Woods without the hemlock trees.
The effort to protect Centennial Woods from invasive species, improve trails, and make this natural area more accessible to all is no small task. But Anderson's secret weapon is the dedicated students of UVM who embody the university's motto, for people and planet.
We had a great work party we had 35 students turn out to just help us clear out debris that we didn't want in here and just shore up the trails and make them nicer. So the students are great. They seem to really want to participate and do the stewardship in Centennial.
Centennial Woods is not just a place for quiet reflection and recreation. It's a living laboratory, nurtured by stewards like Anderson and Giles, supported by the dedicated work of UVM students. As the forest faces new challenges, their commitment ensures it remains a vital space for both wildlife and visitors, now and into the future. In Burlington, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence.
Our thanks to Ben and Caleb. For the other videos in the series, please visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at-fence. And to learn more about UVM's natural areas, visit the website on your screen or tune in every Friday in October when Across the Fence takes you to UVM's wildest places. Our next stop is a birder's paradise located in Heinsberg, the Karst Wetlands Natural Area. That takes care of Across the Fence for today. I want to thank everyone who works behind the scenes here at WCAX who make our program possible. I'm Julie Whitney. Have a good one.